When I went back into the entertainment industry about 14 years ago, after that long break, I just was like, hey, this is who I am. And I talked to my agents, and I had two managers that were not Christians, but totally understood where I was coming from. And I was so free and open to say, listen, I would love to be able to do what I want to do, whether acting, producing, writing. I have a whole list of dreams and goals. But if they don't glorify God in some way, or it changes who I am at the core or the foundation, then I don't need it. I don't want it. I'm willing to walk away.
Candace Cameron Bure is my guest today on CIA, Contagious Influencers of America. I'm the very horse, David Sams. Yes, yesterday I woke up with a head cold and everything that comes along with it, and I'm just about ready to lose my voice. So this time around, what I'm going to do is cut this real short and get right to the interview because I'm afraid I'm going to lose my voice any second now. But, Candace, she is just incredible. Everybody loves her. She's been the star of TV and movies for a long time, the Hallmark movies. And, of course, you'll remember her from Full House and now Fuller House. And she's done dozens of movies on Hallmark, including she's produced a number of them. So I can't wait till she shares some of her Hallmark secrets. She's also going to talk about family, her faith, raising kids in Hollywood, what it's been like to be married for 25 years. She's also going to talk about her new children's book, which is out right now. It's a fun little thing. She's written multiple books, including New York Times bestsellers. Her new book is called Candace's Playful Puppy, and it's out right now, and it's a kid's book, and it's for every boy or girl who has ever wanted a dog, and every parent who knows the responsibility that goes along with caring for a new pet. So it's kind of fun. And she's also going to talk about some of her lifestyle products. We cover so much, and we're going to take some of your questions during this that you've provided to me right here on Facebook. So let's get right now to my interview with Candace Cameron Bure. Hello, Candace. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you?
Well, I will tell you, and I need your advice here because yesterday I woke up with a raging headache, a raw sore throat, and a sinus infection. I've not had one of these in years. So,
oh no,
you're the perfect person to ask. And all the
Why?
years, well, on all the years that you've been doing what you do. When you're supposed to be on the set and you have something like this happen to you, how do you handle it? What's your secret?
Goodness. Oh my gosh, I would probably take as much sinus medicine as I could, and have a lot of hot tea and all the stuff. But I know you just push through it. But man, it's tough. I feel for you.
So that's it. You just push through it. I love that.
Yeah. It's like what I was trained to do since I was 5. You're sick, you don't feel well. Well, production's not shutting down. So just suck it up and get through it.
Just go out there and do it. Okay. Yeah. What is it about you that has given you the staying power that you've had? I mean, we've been watching you for quite some time. I think you're probably one of America's most loved entertainers. What's the secret?
Oh, thank you. I don't know that I have a secret. I know that I love what I do. I think that probably shines through because I've always been passionate about every facet of my career. And I hope that you see the authentic, the genuineness, I guess, that I love what I do. I also think because I am a pretty happy, positive person, that always it just feels so good to watch. I know I love being around other happy, positive people. It can change my mood at times. It gives me joy, and it's almost contagious. And maybe that's part of my staying power.
Well, one of our listeners, Mary Renee, she wants me to ask you, how do you stay so youthful? She says that you look forever 25.
Thank you. I will take it. I love hearing that. Well, here are a few secrets that I have. And this is not any kind of pitch, but I love the skincare that I use, which is Dr. Lancer. I've been using it for 12 years, and I know that has certainly helped the aging process over the years. But I also love fitness, and I eat very well for the most part. So diet and exercise are really important, as is just taking care of my body, drinking lots of water, wearing sunscreen, all those things you've heard about. But when you really are consistent in doing those, I know that does help the aging process. Also, my mom and dad look really good, so I just have good genes.
Now, it's no secret that you're a woman of faith, and that you put it right out there. There's no hiding it. And it doesn't seem to have negatively affected your career. Were you always so confident as a believer? Can you kind of take me through that a little bit, and how you decided to not hide the fact that you're a follower of Jesus?
Sure, I would love to. I became a Christian at 12 years old, although, and I've shared my testimony many times. You can probably Google it if you want to hear it in full. But my faith walk didn't really start until my early 20s, where it really became my own. And I had decided at that point, like literally the veil had come off of my eyes, and I understood the gospel message. I understood why Jesus died for my sin, that I am a sinner. That was something I never could comprehend in my youthful years. And it really is such a simple message, but always thinking I was such a good person, I didn't really understand why I needed God's forgiveness. So that epiphany came about in my early 20s. And out of gratitude in my heart, I thought, whatever I do, my purpose is to serve the Lord. My purpose is to glorify God. So whether I go back into the entertainment industry because I had taken a 10-year break to stay home and raise my kids, whether I ever work again, or I'm at home with my children, I'm out with girlfriends, if I'm playing tennis, whatever I'm doing, my purpose in life is to glorify God in all that I do. And that has been with me since that day my eyes were opened. And when I went back into the entertainment industry about 14 years ago, after that long break, I just was like, hey, this is who I am. And I talked to my agents, and I had two managers that were not Christians, but totally understood where I was coming from. Mm-hmm. And I then gathered people around me that knew who I was and understood it from a business perspective. And I was so free and open to say, listen, I would love to be able to do what I want to do, whether acting, producing, writing. I have a whole list of dreams and goals. But if they don't glorify God in some way, or it changes who I am at the core or the foundation, then I don't need it. I don't want it. I'm willing to walk away. Mm-hmm. And that has really been probably the strongest thing I've ever done in my career, that has propelled my career. Although that was never the intention. I didn't make those decisions and put up those boundaries so that my career would flourish. They were put there in place so that my faith would never be lost and I would never waver when push come to shove.
We all face detours and roadblocks. We hate that. We hate those things. Obviously, we've had a big one for the last year. Mm-hmm. How has your faith helped you get around those roadblocks during your life, in your career, in your family?
Well, I think it's so important that, faith is something that's easy to grab onto when it's tough, when there are difficult circumstances and hard times and big decisions to make, and things just are out of your control. But I think it's so important that you recognize how good God is, not just in those rough times that he's there for you, but in the good times, that the glory and the praise is given to God in the good times, because that's when we forget. When things are going really well, it's so easy to push God to the sidelines because you feel like you're doing it really well on your own. I mean, I'm the first person, I'm raising my hand saying like, that's me, that's me. It's easy to push God away. So I think that is such an important reminder so that we recognize how big and great and merciful God is in the tough times. And that, I try to read my Bible every single day, and staying in the Word of God is the most important thing I can do, because it's very easy to start listening to other people, other opinions, other worldly perspectives. And you always need to keep coming back to what is truth. And for me, the Bible is truth, and what God says is truth. And that's how I navigate. And the Bible helps me do that. And meditating on the scriptures that help me during those tough times, knowing that God is always with me.
Is there a particular scripture that is a favorite that you turn to during those times?
Yeah, the one that has really stood out for me in this last year and going into this year, it's kind of, I think, become my theme. And it's a scripture we all know, and it's Philippians 4, verses 6-8. And I'm gonna just pull it up, but it says, always be full of joy in the Lord. And I say it again, rejoice. Let everyone see that you're considerate in all you do. Remember, the Lord is coming soon. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank him for all he's done. Then you'll experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus. And I can go on to the 8th verse, because let me just keep reading. It says, and now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts. I love this. Fix your thoughts. Keep going back, reminding yourself. Let this flow through your mind. Stop whatever thoughts are there that are negative, and fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about these things that are excellent and worthy of praise, and put into practice all that you've learned and received from me, and then the peace of God will be with you.
That is awesome.
That's it. That's it for me. That was the theme for last year, and I'm keeping it this year. I just love that. That's the meditation of everything that is pure and lovely and good. Mm-hmm. And that's what we all need to do, is redirect our thoughts to those types of things when it's tough or when you have negative people around you. That one's just so helpful to me.
Now, here's another question. This is from Carol, one of our listeners. She wants to know, how do you manage home and career responsibilities? Also, she wants to know where you get your shoes.
This is a girl after my own heart. I'm a shoe addict. I love it. Love shoes. So to answer your first question, home and career. So again, I'll say I think you can do it all. You just can't do it all at the same time. So I did take a 10-year break when my kids were little, because I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to raise my children. And that is, everyone has to do what is great for them in terms of parenting. So by all means, I absolutely think you can be a successful working parent and wonderful parent. For me, I wanted to stay home the first 10 years. And then I came back into the business, but I also felt my kids were a little bit older and then could handle me being away at times. And my career is successful, and yet, and probably, I'm probably in the prime of it. I mean, I hope it's not the prime. I hope it keeps continuing to flourish, but I have adult children now, and I always think it's all about the timing. It's just kind of the juggling act. You can do some things, but you got to put some things down. Like some plates can fall, some can be set aside, and you can pick those plates up later. You just keep juggling. And I think that's how I've managed to do family and work.
What was it that your mother taught you about being a mom?
I would say compassion and having a heart. And I don't know, maybe that seems simple, but when I think of my mom, those are the two adjectives or virtues that I think about. My mom was just so loving and so compassionate, not only to us as children, and compassionate in a way where I always felt heard by my mom. And she didn't always have to agree with me. And she was always my parent first, not my friend. She was always a parent first, but she always made me feel heard. And then we saw that example because our home was like a revolving door. My mom would extend our home and her help, and still does to this day, tremendously to anyone that needed it, or to just give them a piece of joy if they needed that at that time in their lives. And so I hope to be as compassionate and heartfelt to my children and people around me as my mom has always been her whole life to us and others.
So, you've written multiple books, including New York Times bestsellers, but this book that you're coming out with now, tell me why you decided to do this. I heard your dog had something to do with it, inspired you. I mean, a children's book of all things.
Yes. So I absolutely love children's books. Because it was my favorite thing to do with my own kids when they were young. I loved reading with them and to them and looking through beautifully illustrated picture books. So I had dreamed of writing children's books for more than 20 years. And although I've written several books, I couldn't get the publishing deal for the children's book first. So now, 8 books later, I've been able to write these children's books. And this is actually the 3rd one in the Candace series. And Candace is a little adventurous girl, and she kind of marches to the beat of her own drum. She has great ideas, but they don't always come out in the best of ways. But Candace in this book gets a little puppy, and she adopts him from the shelter. And there's always a theme. There's always a lesson to be learned. Just like in Full House, there was a lesson. Well, in the kids' books, there's a little lesson to be learned. And this one's all about faithfulness. She not only has to be responsible, but faithful to continue training and feeding and walking and bathing her dog. And if you are a pet parent, you know how frustrating and that can be, especially with a little puppy. So Candace learns to be a faithful doggy mama. And one more thing. Yes, I'm a huge dog lover, and we have a big dog named Boris. And he is bigger than I am, but he's just like the love of our family.
What kind of dog is he?
He's a Rottweiler.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, he's pretty huge and so loyal and lovable to our family, but he's very protective as well, which is why we love Boris.
Did you have a dog growing up?
No. 2 reasons. For the very reason why I talked about faithfulness, my dad always knew that if we ever got a pet, that he would end up cleaning after the pet and not us kids. So he's like, no, you're not getting a dog or a cat. Well, but we couldn't even get a cat because my mom and my sister are allergic to cat hair. So the second I turned 17, almost, or I should say, when I turned 17 and almost 18, knowing that I was going to move out, I got my first puppy. And her name was Sydney. And I've had a dog in my home ever since I was 17 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, you've been married for, what, 25 years?
It'll be 25 years in June.
Wow. So tell me your love story. How did you guys meet? I want to know what the secret is because, I lived in Hollywood for 20 years and my marriage didn't last that long. So I had to move to Tennessee. So what's your secret?
Oh my goodness. On the truthful secret is that I have such wonderful examples in my life. So my parents have been married over 50 years. Both of my grandparents were married over 60 years. And I just have had wonderful examples in my life. But I kind of laugh because I say, Val and I didn't sign a prenup. So we just knew like divorce was just never going to happen. Here's our love story. I was still working on Full House at 18 when Dave Coulier, who played Joey on Full House, he's a huge hockey fan, and he was playing in a charity hockey game. And he invited me and Bob Saget and John Samos and Lori Loughlin to watch him play in this charity game. But before the game, he told me, he said, "Hey, Candace, I've met these two really good Russian hockey players, and they're going to be at this game. And I want to introduce you to them because who knows? They're like fantastic. Their names are, Pavel Bure and Val Bure." So I was like, okay, great. I was 18. I'm like, this is fantastic. So that was it. Val and I met at that charity game, and I kind of picked him out between the two brothers because those long golden locks under that helmet just flowing in the breeze on the ice, like really caught my eye. So I was like, I want to meet that one. And Val and I met and we exchanged numbers, and then we kind of dated by phone for 6 months before I ever saw him again. And then once I did see him, we both kind of knew we had so much in common, even though he grew up in Russia and I grew up in LA, but we had such a commonality because of our work ethic and both working since we were very young children. I mean, he grew up in the Russian system to be a hockey player. So at age 4 and 5, he's taken the bus by himself to go to hockey practice. And, I started acting at 5 years old, and it was the first person my age or first young man my age that I really connected with over work and a work ethic. And anyway, the rest is kind of history. 6 months after that, so it was now a year into knowing him, he proposed and we got engaged, and we're almost 25 years later.
Wow. Well, yeah. So that was you were how old when you got married? I
was just 20 years old when I got married.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine doing that today?
Well, yes, I can actually.
Can you?
I know it's not. It's so different for most young men and women that I look at, and particularly with my children. There's a lot that I would say, oh no, like you're too young. But I think that you either have a maturity or you don't. So there are people in my life, even with my own children, nieces and nephews, that have gotten married young and engaged, and I'm all for it. I really believe it depends on the two people.
So what's it been like raising your kids in Hollywood?
I mean, normal for me. It doesn't feel any different. I grew up in LA, born and raised, although I've traveled the world a lot. So I realize that LA is quite a bubble compared to a lot of other places in the world. But, my kids grew up in Florida, actually, for the first 10 years of their lives. And then we moved back to LA. So, LA is what it is. I love it. But I know who I am. And I've I believe I've parented the best of my ability to help my children know who they are. And, and then you just kind of let them fly and see where it goes. But I don't know. It doesn't feel any different to me to raise them in LA than any other part of the world. But that's just because I was born and raised there. So it feels very normal.
So how have you managed social media as it relates to your family, and what advice have you shared with your kids that might be helpful to other moms listening to this, especially as it deals with issues relating to, let's say, bullying?
Mm-hmm. Well, social media is such a huge part of all of our lives, particularly our kids. And the biggest thing I have repetitively told them over the years, I mean, okay, do you remember that commercial that like they crack an egg over the stove and they're like, these are drugs, or this is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
Oh, yeah.
So, okay. Yeah, depending how old you are, you may or may not remember that commercial. But I watched that commercial so many times, and my dad would like say this every day: don't do drugs, don't do drugs, don't smoke, don't do drugs. To the point where like, I know, Dad, I know. But he said it so many times that I never had the desire to go and do those things. And neither did my brothers or sisters. I mean, it really stuck. It was the message that stuck. So in the same way with social media, I have told my kids, social media can be a really wonderful way to connect, but it is incredibly dangerous if it's not used correctly. Whatever you post, it is for everyone to see for your entire life. And that may sound dramatic, but it really isn't. And it is truthful. And when my kids would want to argue, Mom, but no, it's a private message, it's a private this, or I can delete it anytime I want to. No, you can't, because once it's out there, it is forever there in cyberspace and anyone can grab it. And so this was my repetitive message to my kids, just like my dad said that to me about, the egg and your brain on drugs. But I keep telling my children about social media. Whatever you put on there, it is there forever. So be wise. Mm-hmm. Don't put anything on there that you would not want me to see, your teacher to see, your employer to see. I mean, anyone. And of course, listen, we're all human beings and we're going to make mistakes. I've made mistakes. My kids have certainly made mistakes on social media. And sometimes the ramifications are big. And sometimes you're like, whew, that one just passed, but I don't think you can talk to your kids enough about social media and also put guidelines on it. When my kids were younger, I gathered their phones. First of all, I didn't get my kids' phones until they were 14. And everyone has their own age as to what they'll allow your kids to have. But 14 was the age I let them have their own cell phone. And then it came with restrictions. I allowed them to have social media, but I had to monitor the account to an extent. And then my kids, I made them give me their cell phones at 9:00 at night. And that was it. They went in my bedroom so they couldn't be on them all night long and doing things that, they shouldn't be doing, or places they shouldn't be playing, because that's where it gets dangerous. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I'm rambling a bit. I apologize, but those were some of my lessons that I hope I don't think you can be too strong as a parent on social media. And if your kids don't like you for it, who cares? It's your job to parent. So just keep telling them. And I really am, I feel like lucky to say that my 22-year-old daughter still to this day will text me and say, hey, Mom, do you think this is appropriate to put up? Do you think this picture is okay? Do you think this caption is okay? And it's only on the things that she knows are like borderline. Mm-hmm, like borderline, will this give me a lot of bad feedback? Or could this be something that I will regret later? And I love that. And, it never came from a judgmental point of view. It came from, I'm a parent and have some wisdom that you don't, so let me help you. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Are there any future actors, actresses, or hockey players in your family?
Yes, my daughter is an actress and she's a singer. She's done a good handful of movies, but the industry is a little bit shut down in LA right now. So there wasn't much for her last year, but she is an actress. And then both my boys played hockey growing up. Lev stopped playing 2 years after high school, and he's no longer playing. But my youngest son, who's 19 and he's a senior in high school, he's still playing and is playing at a hockey school. But I tell you, this last year and this year is really hard for kids that are graduating high school and graduating college, because the world is a little turned upside down in terms of jobs and just being seen. It's kind of been like a dud year for hockey because a lot of it's been shut down. So, there's no stats, there's no scouting, like there's not a lot of that is going on. So we'll see what happens with his hockey career for next year.
Yeah. My daughter goes to Pepperdine, and she hasn't had a class. She graduates this year. She's actually a proud papa here. She has 3 degrees. She'll have 3 majors.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then my other daughter goes to Belmont here, and she's been doing online classes, sitting a mile from her campus. Now they do have some classes on campus here in Tennessee, but she said, "Man, I'm just going to plow through this and get it done." So she's graduating in 3 years because of this whole online thing over the last year.
That is so fantastic. My son, Lev, is doing the same thing. He's doing school online, and he will graduate in 3 years.
Amazing.
For that same reason.
Isn't that
He's
great?
just pushing through it. Yes.
Let's just get this over with.
Exactly.
Hey, we have another question from David, one of our listeners. He says, beyond the public persona or image, what are the things that you would want us to know that sometimes do not make it through the image handlers? Do you have image handlers?
I was just going to say, I am my own image handler. I don't have one of those. What you see is what you get. I'm pretty open on just about everything, especially with Instagram and even TikTok. I'm so goofy on that app, but it's really fun. But really what you see is what you get. I've always been very open about my life and my family and my work. So I don't know that there is that much that would surprise you. I think the biggest thing is people are like, how are you always so happy? I'm like, oh, trust me, I have my days.
Well,
I don't fake it, but it's like, because I am a positive, happy person, but trust me, I have my days. I can get angry and I can regret some things that I say or do in the privacy of my family,
Just looking at your background and your body of work, and then again, you're always so positive. I just have to ask you, without getting into politics at all, how in the world did you survive The View for 2 years? I mean, any kind of topical show. Of course, back then it was probably a little different than it is now, but that must have been a stretch for you.
Oh, it was truly the hardest job of my life. Particularly because we were told that they were going to be steering away from politics.
Yeah.
That they were going to be talking about it less. So I signed up thinking there would be more social topics than political topics. Mm-hmm. But because Donald Trump entered the race, that's all we talked about. And when he was elected president, there were a few things going on in my life. One is that during the time I was co-hosting The View, Fuller House got picked up on Netflix, along with all the Hallmark movies that I was already contracted to do. So my schedule really did become incredibly difficult because I was living in LA and flying to New York every week to do the show, to co-host The View, then flying back and forth every Thursday and Sunday.
You sound like you were on the same plane with Ryan Seacrest.
I know, except I don't have a private jet. It was a little different and quite taxing. But I thought once Donald Trump became president, I knew how much harder it was going to be. And I thought, this is a good time. This is a good time to bow out and focus on the other two networks that I'm working for, because it was such a stress. It was a very hard job.
Hey, tell me about the Hallmark Channel, because you have done all these movies. Really, do you have to read a script these days in order to say, yeah, I'm in? I mean,
well,
aren't the stories basically very similar?
Yes, they are, but I 100% not only read the scripts, but develop a lot of them. And you would be surprised at how many scripts I do read from other people and writers, and even ones that Hallmark loves and sends along to me that I pass on, because yes, they are all similar, but because there's kind of a theme that goes along with them, but the nuances have to be different. And I don't want to do the exact same movie twice. So it's always about finding something that's different. And some simply are just better written than others. So yes, I read all of them. I do produce all of the movies that I do, which has been quite a few on the Hallmark Channel, but I'm there from the ground up. But people do ask me, like, do you audition for Hallmark movies? No. I auditioned once 12 years ago, and since then, the movies, to my delight, have been quite successful and loved by fans. So I don't audition, but I develop them and produce them as well as star in them.
So what's the secret to what makes you so enduring in a Hallmark movie? What's the secret?
The secret. Did you say, what word did you say? Endearing?
Yeah. I mean, what is it about you that people just absolutely love?
I don't know.
You and Hallmark.
I don't know. Honestly, you'll have to ask some of your listeners. I'm just grateful that they enjoy me and they aren't sick of me yet. Because at some point I'm like, I'm 27 movies in. Are you guys tired? And I know there are people tired of seeing me on that channel, but I just love these movies because they're always happy. They're positive. You can walk away and get a snack and come back and you haven't missed anything. You know exactly where you're at. You know it's going to be a happy ending. And that's what these movies are supposed to do. Just bring lightheartedness and joy into your living room.
Well, I love the Hallmark Movies Now app, where I can just pick the movie I want to see. I actually watch.
Yes.
I actually watch that all the time. It's pretty cool.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Hey, let's talk about the future. We've just got a couple more minutes here, but let's talk about the future and what's in store for you. Obviously, this book is just coming out now, but let's talk about the months to come now that LA is no longer in lockdown, at least for this week. You know, what do you have to look forward to over the next few months? And what's the big project that you have not yet done that you want to do?
So over the next couple months, I'm shooting 2 Hallmark mystery movies, my Aurora Teagarden mystery series. So this is movie number 16 and 17 for Aurora Teagarden. So I'm in Vancouver right now shooting those. And that's the start of my year. And then I have several more Hallmark movies I will shoot in the fall. And the other big thing that I love talking about is my lifestyle brand through Dayspring. And I've developed all kinds of faith-based products that are for your life and your mind and your heart. So they're everything from home goods to devotionals and journals, even the Bible, candles, T-shirts, everything that's faith inspired. So this brand has been out for a couple of years, but it is just growing tremendously. And I'm very grateful. So that takes a big bulk of my day doing production because I'm hands-on in absolutely every product I put out. It's not something I just slap my name on. So I'm a workhorse and I love it. And, but I like to be involved in every intricacy of everything that I do. And along with that, I have, when you ask me what's on my bucket list that I haven't done yet. Well, I do have several things that are going to be coming out this year because my bucket list, I keep filling the list. I'm checking things off. So there's not that much left that I haven't done that I want to do because I'm doing it. I'm just like a little entrepreneur, and I just keep, the little engine that keeps going and going. And I'm just trying to fulfill all my dreams and goals. So I have a new clothing line coming out in the spring with QVC. I have a makeup line that I'm working on through in development with Dr. Lancer. So all kinds of things, entertainment and lifestyle products. But the whole big picture in that is that I just get to share Jesus with people, because that's really where my heart's at.
Well, Candace, this has been great, and let's feature some of those products as you develop them on Keep the Faith. I'm sure our listeners would love to hear about them as you come out with them, and it's so cool that you're doing that with Dayspring. And the book is called Candace's Playful Puppy, and it's available now, I guess, on Amazon, right?
Yes, like, anywhere books are sold online,
right?
Or if there is a brick and mortar store that's open, it should be in there.
Hey, we haven't closed here in Tennessee, so it's I
know I want to come out to Tennessee. Trust me.
Have you ever shot a movie here?
I have not, but I've been there several times. I've done other little things there, and I have so many friends in Tennessee. So if we do ever decide to leave California, which, trust me, we've talked about it a whole lot, Tennessee's definitely on the list.
Yeah, I just saw today that the study came out that said that more people have moved to Tennessee this year over the last since the pandemic began. Than any other state. Florida, I think, is number 2, and Texas was number 3. Yeah. Can you believe that?
How do you feel about that, living there? Are you welcoming to all the new people, or are you like Tennessee and even Nashville? I don't know where you are exactly in Tennessee, but are you hoping that it doesn't get overcrowded?
I'm in Franklin, which is right below Nashville. Yes. And so we're in a different county. All I can say is, number one, I got to be a little careful here because, I moved here from California 10 years ago. So I don't want to act like, hey, you know what, stay out of my state.
Of course.
Because we're very welcoming here, but I will have to say that I love this state, and I'm hoping that people respect the fact that we kind of have it together here. We don't have any state income tax. We have balanced budgets. And without getting into all the politics of it all, we just don't want to see a big change occur here as people move here from New York and L.A. and some other places. So I think that's the biggest concern. Let's just leave it. There's a reason why people are moving here. And let's just respect that.
Absolutely. Amen to that.
Well, it's been wonderful talking with you, and thank you for giving us so much time, and thank you for answering our listeners' questions, and thanks for putting up with me with this. It's funny when you're when you have the head cold and the stuffed up thing and all that. Sometimes I have a word that sort of tries to come out, but it can't quite get there.
I don't have a sinus cold, and that's me every day.
Well, listen.
You did a great job, and thanks for hanging in there for the interview despite how you're feeling.
Thank you so much, Candace, and we wish you much continued success, and thank you for keeping the faith, and thank you for sharing your testimony with us.
Well, thanks, David, so much.
And thank you, Candace. Boy, what an entrepreneur. She is just a fireball. She's amazing, isn't she? And I'll tell you, her new book, which I want you to go out and get, is available right now. It's called Candace's Playful Puppy. It's available wherever you get your books. This has been CIA, Contagious Influencers of America, the podcast from the producers of Keep the Faith. I'm David Sams. Hey, please rate and review us. That would mean a lot. And I'm going to get out of here because I'm just about ready to lose my voice. And you're probably saying, man, I love it when he's losing his voice. He makes these things short. But I just want to encourage you to go out there and live that life and live in color, because it sure is a heck of a lot more interesting than living in black and white. We'll see you next time.